What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. It's now Wednesday. We're a couple days past the Major 3 tournament. We're starting to get into sort of the couple of week period between the Major 3 tournament and the Major 4 qualifying cycle. And that means there's going to be some roster changes. So we're going to discuss one that was reported on last night. And we're going to talk about a couple other teams that might be thinking about potential changes. So let's dive in and discuss. Okay, let's start off with the one move that was reported on yesterday via Jacob Hale. The London Royal Ravens to replace PaulEhx, with Yuli coming over from Challengers. So a couple of thoughts. I think this London team was very competitive during this major cycle. Yeah, they didn't get the placing they wanted to, but they were pretty competitive in most of the series they played outside of the phase one. And it seems like they're kind of close to having a solid team. And I think Paul ends up being the sort of odd man out. They had moved Nasty to an AR role, and that kind of left Paul in the second sub role that probably wasn't like a great fit for him. So bringing in a more natural sub machine gun player to run alongside Nissim seems like the right move from London. This should ideally make them better. But I think the issue is this. If you look at the standings for London right now, this is the CDL standings after this event. Obviously, you got a bunch of teams at the top that are pretty much locked in for champs above 200. Doug Lieb on Twitter suggested 190 might end up being like 190, 195 might be the cut line. So London kind of dead last right now on this list, kind of chasing where ROKKR's at is 110. Like, they've got to make up a lot of ground. Now, Jacob Hale suggested that these are probably like the 3-4 most likely paths for London, and it's not easy. I mean, obviously, what would be ideal is for them to win every match online between now and then, which I don't really think is going to happen. So 6 to 8 is probably a realistic target. So this team's probably going to have to get top 4-ish at every event here on out. Look, I don't think a lot of people rated the London team last season, but they were able to get some top 4 placings. So I think London can probably get 1, 2 might be a bridge too far. The only thing I'll say about the 190 to sort of 200 conversation is, again, we don't really know what teams like Minnesota ROKKR are going to play, Vegas Legion, anyone else is sort of on the cut line on either side of that. If they really struggle and London kind of bookends themselves in the top 6 and those other teams end up getting like 20 or 0 points a split, you never know. The bottom may fall out in that number, and it might end up being like 180, 170. But for London, I think this is a necessary move because they need to get it going if they want to make it to champs. All right, so the next team we're going to talk about is the Minnesota ROKKR. No confirmed changes yet, but as you can see here from their stage 3 major 3 results, it has not been a fun ride the last few weeks. This team has gotten 0 points and won 4 maps total across 6 series in major 3. So something's got to change if they want to go ahead and make sure the champ spot is locked. Just as a reminder, last year they missed out by a few points. And I think a repeat again would probably likely bring a lot of major changes into this organization. And also for reference, I got this tweet here from Brett Diamond, who is the COO of version 1, which is sort of the parent company of Minnesota ROKKR. And basically this is sort of the classic, like, that stage was unacceptable. We want to win championships and we trust our coaching staff, which I think is a message of, like, everybody needs to get their act together. Missing out on champs is unacceptable. Continuing to not make it to the weekend is unacceptable, and things need to change. So, okay, what will Minnesota ROKKR do over the next few weeks with their team? So I think that with this time period, they can start to kind of trial a couple of different versions, maybe potential rosters. I think Afro is a player that probably should not really be considered for getting dropped. I think they need him in his pressure. I would assume that Dylan, aka Attach, is also off the radar in terms of being dropped, but it's been a couple of years now where they've had him on the team and still been a bit funky, especially in the respawn. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that system fit. So we basically are left with Bance and Cammy, the 2 players that came over from Toronto Ultra last year. I would assume then they're probably going to try a couple of different versions of some of the Minnesota ROKKR Academy Challengers players, such as Fame, Rael, Painter, and GodRx, with versions of this squad to try and find the best for that mix. And that's probably the best path for this ROKKR team. Like, I mean, bro, these stats are brutal. They were actually not bad in hardpoint during the split. Like 3 and 5 isn't amazing, but the 1 and 5 in control and not winning a single S&D is really tough. You look at this team on paper, and being a good search team should be something this team should excel at, and what they likely need versus some of the more aggressive, quicker teams out there. And instead, they're probably the worst team in search right now. So again, looking at the standings, they're right now in the 8th spot. So they are safe, but Vegas coming off a hot performance at Major 2 is hot, catching up on them. And so they need to match the pace of everybody else above them and below them. They want to keep this 8th spot for champs. And honestly, I doubt you want the 8th spot anyway. Having to play FaZe or Toronto or maybe Optic if they get a lot more points in that first match of champs is not ideal. You want to try and get by the 7th or 6th seed. So a lot of work left for ROKKR. We're going to see what they do over the next few weeks with their team. And I'll report on more here once we get more confirmed information on the changes that they plan to make. All right, so the final team I want to discuss is LAG, and I haven't heard anything around a change yet, but the reason I'm covering this here is, as you may know, Arcides had to miss out on their Las Vegas Legion match, lose round 1 match during the major due to an issue with his hand. He said that his hand was swollen before the match. He played a map, couldn't continue. So they had Marky B come in and they had Spark come in. It was an interesting sequence of events, but regardless, they were dumped out of the tournament dead last, and they also need to get it going in terms of their champ spot. I, again, haven't heard of a roster move here. I think the biggest question is Alec healthy. Now, he said that he's all good. He's been playing ranked play, so I assume on that front that he's set there. But I would say, looking at this team, there is a little bit of a funky kind of role issue between Arcides and Assault in terms of sort of the main AR issue with the team. And then on top of that, there is the issue where this organization is going through a lot of external problems. The layoffs, I don't even know what happens with the academy team. Obviously, they didn't get the result they wanted this weekend, and I would be curious to see if the academy team stays together beyond this week. So a lot of questions around the LAG camp, but my expectation is on the pro side they stick. If the amateur team breaks off, though, I'm very curious if they retain like either Spart or Neptune to be their sub, or will one of the coaches have to be the sub going forward as this org looks to cut costs. But yeah, that's it for this video. I think this Rostermania period is going to be a little bit slow. Like, a lot of the teams are pretty set, and going back to that point standings, the top 7 teams that FaZe, Toronto, Optic, New York, Thieves, Boston, Seattle, I think rosters are fairly stable. Maybe the 1-2 that maybe could make changes based on some poor results recently have been New York and maybe Boston if they feel like their squad can't win, but I think everybody else is sticking. So as far as Rostermania goes, like, I don't see a lot of changes happening during this period. Obviously, things could always change very quickly, and we'll cover that here. I would expect that there's a lot more changes. It will likely be after the next major before Toronto, as teams are kind of jockeying for final seeding, and we kind of see what the standings look like then. So let me know in the comments what you guys think of the PaulEhx for Yuli move, what you think of, or what you think ROKKR should do with their roster. Should LAG stick together? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, and we'll see you guys on the next one.